All right, welcome. We're glad that you were able to take this time to watch this presentation. We are excited to have you in a program. We're looking forward to connecting with you on an individual basis. This is the Online Degree Pathway program that we support. We definitely have put this together because we know that not everybody can attend the live sessions that we're having. So we wanted to make sure that for anybody that was not able to attend those, you're still going to get the same information and the same experience. So that's what this presentation really is going to be touching on. If you have any questions, a lot of them will probably be answered today through the presentation. It could also prompt new questions, so you'll be able to reach out to your advisor with those questions when you meet with your advisor. So the purpose of this presentation is to get this information before you initially meet with your advisor. So this is kind of the pre-advising appointment kind of piece of all of your steps. And we wanted to make sure that you could, kind of connect a face to the name. You've probably received some welcome emails from us. So now you'll be able to kind of visualize who that you are communicating with, who's welcoming you into the program. So we are going to go over today a lot of things about the program. We're going to talk about how to think about your first semester. When you're thinking about the time to put aside to actually be able to take classes, to realistically envision that. We're going to be talking a lot about how to put together that course load. The exact classes that you will take, we'll figure those out later on in your individual advising appointments. But today we want to make sure we give you a lot of general information. We are going to touch on a little bit about financial aid and how to connect with those in the financial aid office and get information to move forward with setting up your financial aid. So just a little bit about us and this team. So my name's AJ Duthie. I am the advisor for the Online Degree Pathway program. I also advise for a finishing program, what used to be called the Public Relations online program. It's now going to be called the Integrated Strategic Communication. Pretty much the same program, same degree, just with the new name. So if any of you are thinking about that particular program, you'll probably work with me and continue to work with me through that program. I also attended Boise State years ago as a non-traditional student, so I know what it's like to try to fit in your education with everything else you got going on in your life. I will let my colleagues introduce themselves and tell a little bit about themselves as well.
Cool.
Hi, everyone. Bonnie, did you want to go first?
Nope, you go.
Okay. Hi, everyone. I know I've probably spoke with a majority of you who will be watching this today, but my name is Taylor Huffman, and I am the student success coach for the Online Degree Pathway program. And I also attended Boise State as a non-traditional student. I transferred with an Associates of Applied Science and then graduated with my Bachelor's of Applied Science degree. And now I am pursuing my master's through Boise State as well. I just love it so much. But as you all know, I help students through that admissions process of Boise State. So when you were working through the application of the Boise State University and then the Online Degree Pathway application as well. So happy to have you guys all here today. All right, Bonnie.
All right. Hi, I'm Bonnie. I am basically AJ's partner in ODP on the advising team. So we pretty much split the ODP student population. I have a very different background from AJ and Taylor. I actually got my bachelor's from Florida State and my master's from University of Central Florida. Ended up in Idaho because my husband is in the military, and now I'm not in Idaho anymore, but I still get to work with this team, which is awesome. And so because of that background, I do primarily work with military affiliated students. So I can help with any questions about tuition assistance, GI Bill, all of that stuff. But I also work with students who are either undecided about majors or heading to majors on campus once they're done with ODP. So that's my role on this team.
And a little bit about what our individual responsibilities and roles are. So as advisors, we're not the experts in financial aid. We do know a little bit about financial aid. Probably had some personal experience when we were students from financial aid, but that can change over the years. So we're not financial aid experts. We usually will connect you with those experts to get those get those questions answered. We're also not counselors. I mean, we can always get you connected to those resources, and Boise State does have wellness resources for our online students as well. So, we are here to help you navigate getting to your goal, getting to graduation or whatever that next step is. We're wanting to make sure that we are touching base with you every semester, figuring out the classes that you're going to be taking that semester, because the online program can be a little bit more nuanced to navigate compared to an on-campus experience. So we want to make sure that we are being in a lot of communication with you, checking in with you every semester. We send out email check-ins throughout the semester and reminders of different kind of deadlines and things like that. So we're basically your guide, and especially through university policies and procedures and things like that, we can help you navigate how to get through some of those questions. And then if there's anything that we don't know, we're going to make sure that we are connecting you to who does know and can help you out with that. Now, that was a little bit about our responsibilities and our role. Let's talk a little bit about your responsibilities as a student. So it's very important for you to be proactive in your experience through your education. You're going to get out of it what you put into it. So you want to make sure that you are reaching out and contacting us each semester so that we can get connected with you and figure out that next semester of classes. Like I said, we do send out a lot of reminders about things. So you'll probably get emails every semester when it's time to start talking about the next set of classes, but it's still going to be your responsibility to actually make that appointment or respond to our email so that we can get that ball rolling for the next semester. Make sure that you are keeping us informed about anything that may be changing. We know life changes and plans can change. So if you initially came in and like, well, that's the major that I want to do, but that changes later on. Maybe you took a class in another subject and that was really interesting and that changed what you wanted to do, or you have some sort of career direction change or something like that. Let us know as early on as possible so that we can adjust that plan as needed. And as things come up in life that are outside of your control, health things that might come up that might get in the way of completing a class or something like that, financial changes, keep us updated. Let us know right away, because we want to make sure that we are very proactive with you. If we need to reach out for answers to a problem, figure out some sort of support or resource that we need to get you connected with. But like I said before, definitely take an active role in your educational experience. This is your time. You're doing this for a reason, and that big reason may be, I want that piece of paper, I want that degree so it can open a door that I want opened. But you also want to make sure that you're putting a lot of time and work and a lot of money into this. So you want to get out as much out of this experience as you can. Also, one of our biggest things that we advise is stay in communication with your instructors. The online experience is a bit different than being in person, but those instructors are there just as much as an in-person instructor. So, any issue that comes up, questions, anything that may cause a need to, ask for an extension on an assignment or something like that, reach out to your instructors. Don't be silent with them. Don't think that they don't understand what a student is going through. They definitely do. And make sure that you are checking your Bronco mail, your new Boise State student email. Make sure you're checking that. If you haven't already, find where that is in your My Boise State login. That is where all the communication from the university is going to go to, including us. We're sending everything to that email address at this point. But keep us informed of all the good things that are happening with you as well. We want to hear that you did well in a class. We want to hear that maybe you got that job that you were really wanting. That we want to celebrate those things with you. That's why we do what we do. We want to see your successes and see you move forward with your goals.
All right, now what is the ODP program? As most of you know, this is the online degree pathway program, and the purpose of this program is to help students to complete up those university foundational courses. So it is a bridge program. Other courses that you might be taking are if your program they're going into has prerequisite courses, maybe some elective courses, or if you plan on pursuing a certificate, you might be taking some courses as well in the online degree pathway program.
Awesome. So what to expect from taking classes in ODP? One of the biggest questions we get about our classes is if you have to tune in on Zoom or do assignments at specific times. So our classes are all organized to be fully online and self-paced. So what that means is that you get to complete your assignments in your own time and you won't have any scheduled Zoom sessions that you're attending every week. With that time that you're going to be using, though, you will have specific due dates for assignments. So a lot of the time you'll see that there are like 2 or 3 due dates a week, and that's what you'll need to keep up with. But you can still complete the assignments in your own time as long as you're meeting those deadlines. So that's all you really need to be watching out for at the beginning of the semester, is going ahead and listing all of that out beforehand so you know what to expect. And so that's what the difference is between online and remote. Our classes are fully online, whereas remote classes are the ones that you would have to do a Zoom session at specific times. And we don't have those in the online degree pathway. For best ways that you can communicate with your professors once you start classes, as AJ said, it's really important to stay in contact with them if you have any questions or concerns about the class or anything going on in your life. But not all of them are going to prefer email. So that's usually where people are going to go first. But I do know that there are some instructors that actually hate email and probably won't respond for a long time. So it's just good to be aware of what they would prefer. So when your classes open up, the first thing you're going to want to do is check out the class syllabus. They will always have a little section there about the best way to contact them. I'm sorry if you can hear my dog whining in the background. So always check that out. They might prefer email, they might prefer phone calls, they might even prefer that you just use Google Hangout chats and just send them a quick chat so they can get to you right then and there. So be aware of that. If you're trying to reach out to your instructor and are not hearing back, they might prefer a different method. Making the most of your educational experience. Ultimately, it's gonna be about being prepared and making sure you're sticking to a specific schedule. using your resources. So there's a lot available to you as a Boise State student that we'll be going over later. But you want to take advantage of the things that we are sending you via email. So like this list that we have here, we're not going to go over today, but we actually will be emailing it to you before classes begin. There's a lot of different things we'll be sending you so that you're prepared. So make sure you're checking your email and taking advantage of those things. Don't wait until it's too late and you already have a problem and keep putting it off. Whenever things come up, the most important thing to do is reach out to your advisors and your instructors. So there's no way that anybody can help you if they don't know that you need the help. So just stay in touch early on, don't wait. I think that is one of the most important things for being a successful student.
So coming up here for the fall semester, the fee payment deadline is going to be August 21st. If anybody is using financial aid and has that set up and ready to go before that date, I believe it's usually about 6 or 7 days before that, they process the financial aid, they post it towards any fees on your Boise State account. If you're not using financial aid, if you're doing it something out of pocket, or maybe an employer tuition reimbursement or something like that, we do have a fee payment arrangement plan that you can enroll in. If you don't have that set up, and if there is any fees that are still there after August 21st, the fee office, they will issue a $50 late fee that'll be assessed at that time. But like I said, there is a payment plan that you can enroll in. That definitely makes it easier to take care of any leftover fees, or if it's the full amount of that semester. That will divide up the fees for the semester. It'll divide that up over the course of 3 months. So you'll have August 25th, the 25th of each month, August, September, and October. Those payments will be due. There is a $30 fee to enroll in that program, and that $30 will be assessed on that first due date of that 25th for that payment. But it is you have to proactively enroll in that if you want to take advantage of that. And if you have any questions about how to do that, you can either bring that up with us or even the student financials office page on the Boise State website also has a really great walkthrough with that as well. So I touched on financial aid a little bit. Financial aid is also one of those things that you have to be proactive with. Not only initially submitting your FAFSA application on the federal website, and if you are going to use financial aid for this coming school year, make sure you have done that as early on as you can. Once that's submitted on the Boise State side of things, you do want to log into your My Boise State, go into your student center. There is a initial page that looks like this. It's got these 9 tiles of different categories to click on. Right in the middle there is the financial aid tile. That'll take you into your financial aid information. It'll show you what you have been awarded for that school year. You do want to make sure that if you are planning on taking summer classes for that school year, do keep in mind that the amounts that you're seeing posted, it's dividing that year's amount between the fall and the spring only. It's not automatically knowing that you are wanting to take summer classes, because on campus, that's an optional semester. In the online program, we have full class options for the summer. So make sure you are budgeting out and leaving some of those funds left from the fall and the spring to utilize in the summer. If you are confused about that, or if you want to get a little bit of a walkthrough on how to budget that out, we will get you connected with the financial aid counselor who works with our online students. But on this page, there's also right above that financial aid tile, there is a tasks tile. And that is where you can see if there's any to-do items that you need to do. So, and not just financial aid, but any office that needs additional documentation from you or another step that you need to do to move forward, it'll be posted there. And a lot of times it's typically financial aid things. They may be asking for additional documentation of something. So make sure you are checking that. And it also shows if there's any kind of holds that are stopping enrollment. You can see those in that tasks area as well.
Cool. So as AJ mentioned earlier, we definitely have a deviation in some of our job duties, and one of them is financial aid. We can answer some basic questions about financial aid, but we definitely are not the most knowledgeable people to go to on that. So if you have any questions about financial aid, the best thing to do is reach out to our designated financial aid counselor. So Lauren Krigbaum works specifically with our online students. And that's really important because we do have a little bit of a different funding structure than they do on the main campus. So it's great to reach out to her for some really spot on information, because a lot of the times if you call the main financial aid phone line, they are just going to assume you're an on-campus student and may not know the difference between our funding structures. So we always recommend reaching out to Lauren first, and that is her email address there. That's the best way to contact her. She is really, really fast with responding. I mean, literally usually responds within like an hour of me sending her something. So she's very on top of it and she's very knowledgeable. But if she is like out of the office or something and you can't get a hold of her, then I would try the financial aid main office, but definitely start with Lauren first.
And do keep in mind that at certain times of year, financial aid gets very, very busy. So the closer we get to the beginning of the semester starting, I would say usually 2 or 3 weeks before it starts, they can get very bombarded with questions. So responses may slow down a little bit at that point. So that's why it's very helpful if you do have a question and you do need to get something taken care of, to do that as early on as you possibly can.
Cool. So for our military students who are using tuition assistance or GI Bill, you've got some different offices that you'll want to contact. Now, if you're using tuition assistance and you're working with me, you don't necessarily have to reach out to military programs. I work directly with them and I can answer any questions about TA, military benefits, testing for CLEP and DSST. I can answer all of those questions. But if you have any other specific information to ask about, military programs is your office. They are the ones who organize everything with those military credits, so you can reach out to them. For GI Bill, I can answer some basic questions about GI, but it is very nuanced. So it's generally best to reach out to our Veteran Services Center. If you, let's see, the first thing that you're going to want to do in order to use GI benefits is contact the VA if you haven't done so already. So you'll want to make sure you get your declaration letter ready to go. And once you have that, then you can send it on to Boise State's Veteran Services Center and ask them any questions you have about using your benefits at Boise State.
Awesome. So earlier, AJ had mentioned your Bronco mail that can be accessed through your My Boise State Student Center. So you should have received in your welcome email information about how to get logged in to your My Boise State Student Center. If you're having any troubles getting logged in, please let us know and we can help troubleshoot a little bit, or we might end up getting you connected with our help desk, which will help with IT sort of things. But in your My Boise State, that's where you'll be able to access your Bronco mail, which is that student email address. Now, for our student email address, we do use Gmail. So if you have a smartphone, you can always download the Gmail app or add it to a mail app on your phone if you'd like to.
Alrighty, so One thing that you can take a look at right now for more information about your resources as an online student and learn more about ODP is our student resource site. So this is housed in Blackboard right now, but eventually we'll be transitioning to Canvas along with your other classes. So whenever you are in your My Boise State account, that's pretty much where you're going to navigate everything. So you'll be able to pull up Blackboard, your Bronco Mail account, your student center where you're going to be registering for classes. So definitely spend some time familiarizing yourself with your My Boise State account to see where you can access everything. If you pull up Blackboard right now, you will notice that there is nothing on there except the online degree pathway resource site. So you can go ahead and click in there to learn kind of how to navigate Blackboard. Even though your classes won't be in Blackboard, if you can even get the basics of Blackboard down, you'll be good to go with Canvas. Canvas is going to be much more intuitive and easier to use, but it does have a little bit of a similar structure when you're kind of looking at how things are laid out. So that's where it might be good to check this out. And again, it just has a lot more information for you about ODP, financial aid, military benefits, campus resources. It's kind of like your one-stop shop for your information hub. So yeah, I think that's the basics about the student resource site. Okay, the academic calendar. So we wanted to go over this because it's really important to know when the big dates and deadlines are throughout the semester. So, I mean, we are here to support you through everything, but it is absolutely on you to know when the drop deadline is, when the withdrawal deadline is, when you have to pay your fees. You've got to know all of that ahead of time. And the big reason we pull it up today is if you take a look at the first and second 7-week sessions. So first 7 weeks, the majority of our classes are done in 7 weeks, which I know Taylor went over with you. So if you look at the first 7 weeks, the start date is August 23rd. And then if you move over, the last date to drop or completely withdraw, well, sorry, actually, the last date to register or drop without a W, so that means dropping the class so it doesn't show up on your record at all, is August 26th. So you only have 3 days to decide if you want to drop a class before it turns into a W grade. So anytime after this, it will be a full withdrawal and show up on your account. Now, that's perfectly fine because you are allowed up to 10 withdrawals as you pursue a bachelor's degree, but it can cause some issues with financial aid, TA, GI Bill, all of that stuff. So that's why it's really important to watch that drop deadline. And just bookmarking this, we'll be sending it to you when we meet, but this academic calendar is just an important thing for you to have at your disposal so you know what to expect every semester. Okay, so I had mentioned if you go into Blackboard now, the only thing on there is the ODP resource site. Now Canvas, whenever that does display, we're just starting to use Canvas this fall. Whenever that does display, your classes still won't show up just yet. So generally instructors won't open their course shells until your class is officially beginning. And at the earliest, usually they'll open it by the Friday before. So don't panic if you're like 2 weeks or 1 week out and your classes still aren't showing up. It's because the class hasn't started yet. So your instructor doesn't want you to get started because they're not going to grade yet. So that's why they're not there. When your classes do open, the most important thing, like I said earlier, is to open up that syllabus. You want to know all of the basics about the class. You want to know what to expect, and you absolutely want to pull out those due dates for all of your assignments. This is one of the most important practices you can get into as an online student, is knowing way ahead of time when your assignments are due and having a way to track it. So you need to start creating some sort of schedule for yourself, and we'll go over time management next. But the way to start on that is to know when your assignments are due in the first place. So you really want to map all of that out so that you can then break it down week by week. And then again, communicating early and often with your professors. So when your class opens, don't hesitate to reach out to them. Let them know if there's anything like big going on in your life, like if you are expecting to have a kid sometime this semester, or if you are in the military and might have a sudden duty assignment where you have to leave and be MIA for a week. Those are important things for your instructors to know from the get-go, because you don't want to wait and just say, oh, by the way, this is why I was gone for a few weeks here. Can I catch up now? You want to tell them ahead of time so that they can work with you on all of that.
So let's talk a little bit about a big thing that is going to help make you successful, and sometimes is the last thing that's thought about. And that is, how do we fit in our education into our life? So, with an online environment, since it is, you're not seeing your instructor on a 2 or 3 times a week basis, so there isn't that kind of accountability that's right there in front of them or in front of you. Time management and self accountability and self motivation are going to be very important things to really start thinking about before you get started. Having a plan set up, figuring out, okay, what are the tools that I am going to use? Am I going to get a plan, an actual like physical planner to use? Am I going to use the Google Calendar or whatever those tools that work best for you? Make sure that you are thinking about those now. Because as we look at how much time a class realistically takes, in this chart, in the red highlighted areas, we're comparing what like an on-campus 15-week long semester length class, how much weekly work that usually takes, and comparing that to what most of the classes that you're going to be taking in that 7-week session, and what that workload difference really looks like. So a majority of your classes are going to be 3 credit classes. There may be a few here and there that are 1 credit, but probably 99% of the classes that you take are going to be a 3 credit class. So on that row there, you'll see, a 15-week long class on campus, a semester length long class. Usually you can expect that it's going to be about 9 hours of work per week. And an in-person class that actually includes the class time. Now, when you compare that to that 7-week class, that of course is doing that in about half the time. So it is going to require almost double the work. Very realistically, 16 to 20 hours of work per week is what you should be expecting. And especially your first semester, I would assume more closer to that 20 hours of work per week, because you're going to be getting used to how the online environment is. If you haven't done online before, but if you have, you're going to be getting used to how Boise State's online environment is. So there's a little bit of a transition no matter what. And then of course, the actual subject of the class is going to change how much of that workload really is. You might do really great in English and you can breeze through it, and that's only going to take 15 or 16 hours a week for you. But maybe math is that subject that's going to be really hard, and so that might take that 20 hours a week, or maybe even more, depending on what that class is. So thinking now, how am I going to fit that into my week, is very important. A 7-week class, 20 hours of work per week, very realistically 2 or 3 hours a day over a 7-day week is what you should be looking at. Now you may be able to do 6 hours, work on that for 6 hours on one day, and then the next day you might not have to work on it, wherever you're fitting that in. But sit down and think about, where can I fit this in? And you can really fit this in anywhere, and that's the flexibility of online. There's no specific meeting times. You're not having to get logged in an exact time with all the rest of the students in your class. That's the flexibility. So if you get up early before your day and you're able to work on stuff then, or you're gonna work on it late at night after you put the kids down, or whatever that looks like for you, really start thinking about that now.
Awesome. Outside of all of that, you do have different academic supports as well. We do, all of these supports are available for our fully online students. So if you need tutoring, academic coaching, there's different workshops available that might, if you want a little bit more on the time management, or if you want something on study skills or note taking. And then you also have a writing consultants as well. So you have different supports available to help you in whatever you might be wanting to build a little bit more. Outside of that, we also have other services.
I'm trying to get it to change, sorry. There it goes.
Thanks, AJ. We have other services as well. So Career Center, the Educational Access Center, which will help with any accommodations that you might need in your courses. There's a library services, the student financial services, where that payment plan that AJ was talking about earlier is done through. Technical support through our help desk. Again, they help with IT sort of things. If you're struggling with your My Boise State, your passwords, maybe Canvas is being weird, whatever you got going on there. We have testing centers, and some courses might use remote proctoring, just depending on what course you're in. And then lastly, the Veteran Services Center as well. Now for anyone using Veteran Services Center, they do have a textbook lending library as well. So that I always encourage students to check that out.
Awesome. So the goal for this session was really to make you feel a little bit more comfortable with becoming an online student at Boise State, and making sure that you knew a little bit more about what to expect. So from this point, the next thing you're going to do is schedule a one-on-one appointment with your advisor. And then so you'll be meeting with either AJ or myself, and we will go over everything else. So we're going to get you registered for classes. We'll go over your transfer transcripts if you have any of those, and go over what you're bringing in and what you still need, and make sure that you have a good idea of what to expect, starting with ODP and eventually transitioning into an associate's degree, your major, whatever path it is that you're going for. So we just want to make sure that you have the basics down before we start talking about classes. So that is the next step. We will get you registered next. So if you refer to your Bronco Mail account, you will have something in there that was a handoff email, which may be how you found out about this welcome session. But you can go back there to find our advising appointment links. And of course, if you can't find that, then you definitely should have Taylor's email and she can help you find it. But otherwise, I think that is it for the day. Do y'all have any last comments?
I just want to say thanks everyone for watching. We're so sad that you weren't able to join us live, but we are all super excited for you getting started this fall semester.
Looking forward to meeting with any of my advisees and getting you started and just having you part of the program. Thanks for taking the time to watch this today.
Awesome. We'll see all of you soon. Bye.